ADP employment report just now being released. Steve Leisman joins us with the numbers. Steve.
Hey, Mike. A big miss on ADP, coming in at just 77,000 for the month of February. That's the smallest monthly gain since July, and a sharp come down from the 186 in February and in January. Total private pay was just 178. The estimate was 148,000. But good balance there between goods producing sector, which did quite well, up 42,000. That's a good number for that index. Service providing up 36,000. And there's that non-farm payroll estimate looking for a pretty robust 170,000. So we'll see what happens to that estimate by the end of the day as economists think about whether ADP is telling them something about maybe weaker numbers. Again, ADP revised up from 183,000 to 186 for January. Now, the small business was a place where they lost jobs. Now, that sector's been doing pretty well. So don't know if it's a one-month blip in February or maybe some other issues that are going on. We'll get to the economist Neil Richardson in a second. Medium and large business both doing okay, up 46 and 37,000 respectively. Interesting movements in the sectors here. Leisure hospitality up 41,000. That's been a place we've seen a lot of job growth there, so that continues. Professional business services up 27. Financial activities up 26. But there's education and health services down 28,000. And that, I believe, is the first decline in that sector since June of 2021, or as we came back from the pandemic. So we don't know if perhaps that's a government spending issue showing up in private sector hiring there, or again, perhaps a one-month anomaly. Trade, transport, utilities had also done well, but now down 33,000. On income or on wages, something followed closely by the Federal Reserve, job stayers, 4.7%. That's flat. And job changers, 6.7%. That is down a tenth. So, Mike, a big miss there. Some economists will factor this into their estimates for Friday. Others will ignore it because overall, ADP has been running plus or minus. Big difference with the BLS private sector, 108,000. Over the course of a year, it's just a 23,000 monthly difference. But if you look at the monthly differences on absolute basis, it's been pretty wide.
Yeah, well, the Treasury yields have actually taken this little bit of a step down on the news, so we'll see how the markets deal with it as well. Steve, stay with us for more on this ADP data. Let's bring in Neil Richardson, ADP chief economist. It's good to see you. So definitely a shortfall relative to consensus. It kind of feeds into this idea of a further slackening labor market. How do you read it?
Well, I read it in a number of ways. First of all, this is a look at the private sector.
Sure.
It does not include government jobs. But what we do see is the same kind of hesitancy in hiring that we saw in July. Now, a couple months later, we saw this unleashing of hiring over the fall and winter months. And so for the last 3 months, the BLS and the ADP numbers have been tracking strength. 188,000 posted the last 3 months in the ADP, 209,000 in BLS. This month represents a step down from that. But Steve was absolutely correct to highlight the good strength. This is the first time, and I looked through the data last night, actually, this is the first time that goods have outperformed services since 2018. So that could be the bright spot in a rather downbeat report.
Is there any way of trying to discern whether that is partially pulled forward of people trying to produce for getting ahead of tariffs, or if that seems like something that's more of a tidal shift in the economy?
Well, it matches up with the survey data from manufacturers, the ISM manufacturing survey, which showed strength in January. And I think what we saw is strength in new orders in that survey, strength in employment, strength in a lot of different dimensions of the manufacturing sector. And I think that is reflected in the hiring that we saw in February. The unfortunate part of that survey is that the next February survey didn't see the same strength. Sure. So I'm not sure about the persistence at this moment, but it was definitely reflective of the optimism coming from the sector in January.
Steve, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, first of all, Mike, I want to point out that you're right about the movement in the 10-year and the 2-year, which is kind of interesting to me, which is whether or not economists take it seriously, the market takes it seriously. So they see this as yet another sign of weakness. And I'll update in a little bit the Fed Fund futures and see what's happened there. We had been banking on 3 cuts. But I want to point out there are two parts to what's happening with DOGE when it comes to employment. The first is federal employment. The other thing is the cancellation of contracts and the impact on the private sector. That's what will show up in the overall headline jobless claims numbers. The federal workers will appear, and we'll talk about this on Thursday morning, will appear separately in a federal worker claims index, but the private sector appears in the jobless claims. So my question to Neela is whether or not education and health services, two areas that do rely on government spending, do you think we could be seeing early impacts there from what's happening with DOGE and the cancellation of contracts, the decline in federal spending, and the knock-on to private sector federal contractors, either in Washington or even indeed around the country?
You're right, Steve, to highlight the education and healthcare drop in job gains. This is a sector that could be responding to federal policy around funding. So in this sector, we have healthcare, we have social assistance, we have education, and all of that bucket is impacted by grants. And so, yeah, this could be a little preemptive on the part of these organizations. We don't know if it's long term. There seems to be some uncertainty in that sector. But if you look at professional business services, where you would think that a lot of federal contractors would show up, we're seeing a pretty good number, 27,000 jobs posted. So my takeaway from all of this is that it's not just policy driving these different sector gains. The economy has changed. If you look at consumers over the past 2 months, you've seen a decline in spending. That shows up in the lack of hiring in the retail, that trade, transportation, and warehousing. That is the biggest negative we saw in this January report. So there is no wholesale policy or part of the economy that we can point to in terms of this report. But what we do see is some rebound in manufacturing and some sluggishness in those consumer-facing sectors like education, healthcare, and retail.